Hello, my name is Monique Carmela. I am a trauma-informed feminine empowerment, self-love, and relationships coach. I created the Good Girl Unleashed podcast as a way to support you on your journey to liberating yourself from limiting beliefs, trauma, suppression, so that we can all come home and live authentically and unapologetically. I support my clients and my community with resolving trauma, releasing suppressed emotions in a safe, supportive way that allows them to reconnect to their authentic self and create a deeply fulfilling life and rich, nourishing relationships. I am so grateful that you're here. Let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the Good Girl Unleashed podcast. This is the first episode that I am recording post-birth. It has been quite the journey of contemplation and integration and hibernation, and there's been so much brewing that I'm so excited to share with you. Today, I want to first just take a moment to acknowledge all the listeners. I think it's so courageous to step into this journey. You may have listened to my recent episodes with Bex and Yuki. These are a couple of clients of mine and really have become family. That's how I really see and feel my clients, because we get to know each other on such a deep level. They truly become family, and I don't take this lightly. I'm so deeply honored to support these women, and it was really incredible to be able to bring them on and share a bit about their experiences, journeying deep inside the container with me. And yeah, I'm just so in awe of everyone who is listening, everyone who jumps into a journey with me. It takes a lot of courage to really show up in this way and take those steps to really going within and meeting the different parts of you, acknowledging what is brewing inside of you, and then to really implement what you're receiving is just taking it to a whole nother level. So I commend you and I thank you for being here. Today I want to dive into a topic that is really close to my heart, and that is feeling supported in your relationship. And as always, you're going to hear me talk about the foundations of this, of how can I support myself? How am I supporting myself already? Or how am I not supporting myself? And how is that being mirrored to me externally? But I also want to discuss how we can build that deep sense and experience of support inside of our partnership. And I'm going to relate this to my recent experience in birth. So I have shared about how my first birth was quite deeply traumatizing, and the trauma of that birth really led to a deep disconnection in my relationship. And there was a lot of resentment building from that experience because I felt so unsupported in that first birth. But when I really went deeper into this and got brutally honest with myself and really started to see where I was projecting, I actually saw the part that I played in this, how I wasn't supporting myself, but also how I wasn't asking for what I needed. I wasn't expressing that I needed support and how that looked like. I just expected my partner to know how to support me, and he didn't. It was a brand new experience for both of us. Neither of us had had a baby before, and so this was all brand new. I didn't know what I needed in order to feel supported, and so therefore I didn't know how to express it. And even if I did know, I was still very stuck in my expression. I didn't know how to ask for what I needed, and I had expected my partner just to know. From that experience, though, I had the willingness and the courage to lean in and explore the wounding around this, because not feeling supported didn't begin with this relationship. It was a deep wound that actually began very early in life, in infancy and childhood, where I wasn't receiving the support that I needed from my original caregivers. And perhaps because they didn't know how to give that, because they didn't receive it themselves. And in that time, I also didn't know how to ask for it. And so I was expecting my partner to know how to support me like I expected my original caregivers to know how to support me, but neither of them did. And so it's been a journey of learning of what do I need? What do I need in order to feel supported? And how do I ask for that? And then the next part of that is how do I receive it? How do I know that I deserve to receive this? I'm worthy of receiving this. And then open myself up to receiving. Because receiving is very vulnerable. And often being vulnerable feels unsafe. Because when we were most vulnerable, we were hurt. And so we built up all these walls and armor to protect ourselves, to create a sense of safety. And now we're being asked or invited to release that armor, to let down those walls and let love in, to let support in. And that can feel really scary, and it definitely has for me. But in the last few years, I have done some deep, tremendous work. And I have found the more that I support others to do this deep work, the more deep work that I'm invited into. I am just getting called into such deep layers that I never even knew were there or felt possible to lean into. And the more that I do this work, the more I expand my capacity to go even deeper. And the deeper I go, the more profound the breakthroughs are, the milestones, the receiving, the gifts, the lessons, the expansion. And the more capacity I have for joy, pleasure, bliss, connection, all of the beautiful things that we deeply desire on the other side of doing this deep work, of meeting our pain, of meeting the wounds, of integrating the inner child, of loving all of ourselves, meeting the parts of ourselves that we feel aren't lovable, aren't worthy, are no good, and learning how to have more compassion and love for those parts. Really holding ourselves in that. So for me, I say it again and again and again, I'm not about getting rid of anything. I'm about meeting it, embracing it, acknowledging it, integrating it, bringing all of these parts of ourselves back into wholeness, back into deep love of, you know what, I see you, I love you, it's okay that you're feeling this. And so that's what I've been doing for the past few years, is really taking what I had learned all those years prior to this and really implementing it, really embodying it. And through that journey, I have found a deep support within myself. I have been supporting myself every step of the way. And in building those foundations of support for myself, I have now started to experience external support as a mirroring. And I've also been able to see where I'm still holding on to the story that I'm not supported and I have to do it all on my own and that I can't rely on anyone else. And so through that work, I've also been able to expand my awareness and really see the incongruency of I'm saying that I want to be supported in my relationship, but I'm holding on to this story that that's not possible. And so I really had to meet the part of me that was remaining in this victim state of I'm a victim here, I am not supported, these people have let me down, I cannot trust these people to support me. And I really had to meet that and lay that down, because really all of that was just a protection. It was a way to keep myself safe, because there have been a lot of experiences that have told me that it's not safe to let people in. And I've been building that evidence and holding on to that to validate the holding on to it's not safe to be supported by others. And so it is quite a vulnerable experience to actually put this down and to open my heart to experience support in my relationship with Liam. And so part of this journey of experiencing this new level of support was actually healing and integrating that experience of my first birth. And so leading up to my recent birth, to my beautiful baby girl, I had a really deep intention for this experience to be healing, not only for me and my initial, like my first birth, but also for my family, for my partner, for my son, and even for my relationship with my mother, who flew over to be here for the birth. And that's exactly what I received. I talk about the power of intention, and it is truly profound. That intention was so deeply answered beyond what I could have even imagined. And even though the birth unfolded a little differently to my vision, I got what I needed, I got what I deeply desired. And part of that healing was also to experience deep support. And I received support from myself. I received support within my partnership from Liam. He was just so with me through the entire experience. And I was also able to tune into, when can I lean on my mum instead of leaning on Liam, to give him some space so that he can really support me in the times I need him most. And that was really profound for me. I remember asking Liam to go and get me some food while I'm in my process and experiencing the waves or the contractions. And then I would take a moment and tune in, like, actually let him rest, because I'm going to need him so much more as we get closer to the birth. And so I allowed myself to lean on my mum and asked her to get my meals for me and asked her to support me with Theo. And that was really huge, because I haven't allowed myself to receive support from my mother either. I've really taken on this story of I'm only able to rely on myself, and I got to do all these things for myself. So that was really empowering to actually ask for my mum to support me in these ways, and to give Liam the space to rest so that he can support me as I'm going through the deeper, more intense part of this process. And so that also allowed me to have his presence and his energy next to me throughout that process, rather than him constantly getting up and having to leave the room. So that was also really powerful. I then also experienced the support of my birthing team, my midwife. I also ended up transferring to the hospital at some stage in my birth, and I felt so much support in the hospital, which was drastically different from my first birth, where I felt traumatized by the entire medical team. And that was really healing to have the difference in that experience. And I really feel like the entirety of this recent birth was so different because of all the work that I had done over the past few years. That is really important to know. It's not just the work that I did in my pregnancy, it's all the work that I did from that first birth to the moment of my recent birth. Because what I knew to be true is that no matter what happened in that first birth, I knew that I could heal and integrate whatever happened. And I told myself before the birth, no matter how this goes, I have everything I need inside of me to heal whatever happens. The most important thing is that we get through this together safely, and we did. And even though it was incredibly traumatizing, I had the tools and I had so much support that I hadn't yet acknowledged to help me move through that process. What was really profound is, even though I had done so much work around that birth, there was still something that I wasn't able to fully let go of and fully accept about that birth. And my recent birth really helped me to come into that deep acceptance. And I'm going to be talking more about that in a upcoming episode. But coming back to that deep level of support, something that was profoundly different with this experience is that I actually wrote down a birth vision. And in that birth vision, I wrote down what the roles were for my partner, for my mother, for my midwife. And that helped me to get clear on what I needed from these people that were supporting me. And it also helped them to know what I needed from them. And it gave really an outline, like it gave instructions, whereas at first birth, I didn't know what I needed and I didn't know how to ask for it. So how could I expect my partner to support me in the way that I needed if I didn't know how to ask for that? So I really had to let go of this idea that he should just know. And I hear this all the time. He should just know how to be there. He should just know how to meet my needs. He should know what my needs are. He should know what he needs to do. He should know how to support me. But they don't a lot of the time. We need to be willing and courageous enough to ask for what we need and to be open to receiving that. And that was a huge difference this time, is that I asked, where I got clear on what I needed. I asked for it, and then I opened up to receiving that. And there were contractions in that process, not just physical contractions of birth, but contractions of really allowing myself to ask for what I needed and then to receive it. There were times where I felt myself really struggling to receive. And so it was for me to breathe through that contraction and really soften into the receiving mode. And the more that I softened into receiving, the smoother the contractions were physically in my birth. And this relates to life, whether you are a woman or not, whether you are birthing or not, whether you plan to have a baby or not, whether you've already had your baby. This is really relatable to life because we are experiencing contraction and expansion in life itself. We are shedding layers. We are rebirthing ourselves. We are birthing our creations, our manifestations, our desires, our dreams. And so there are many different forms of birth. And there are many different forms of contractions and expansion. And so for you, this is really an invitation to tune into, how deeply supported do I feel by myself? How deeply supported do I feel by life? Do I feel by the universe? Do I feel by God? Do I feel in my relationship with my partner, with my family, with my children? How supported do I feel in these different areas of life? Supported do I feel at work, in my business? And getting really curious about that. Where am I feeling supported and where am I not feeling supported? And how can I deepen that experience of support? How can I find my voice in this? How can I really get clear on what do I need in order to feel supported? And how can I ask for that? How can I meet that need for myself? So these are some things that you can start to ponder and contemplate. And then when there is that opportunity to ask for what you need, can you come from your heart? Rather than demanding like this is a need and you must meet it, how can I lead from my heart? There was a really profound experience I had leading up to the birth of my baby girl. And it was a really pivotal moment that I feel had a huge ripple effect. And it was maybe the first moment the first experience that I really shared with Liam about the trauma that I experienced from that first birth and how unsupported I felt in that experience and why I felt unsupported. And I started to express like, this is what I needed and it was not met. And I didn't know how to express it. And so I wasn't coming from a place of attacking of you should have supported me. I was coming from expressing that this was my experience. And from that place, he was able to meet me. It also really helped that moment, like that weekend, he had been away. So he had a few days in Wellington away from me and Theo. And so he had some time to decompress and to create some spaciousness for himself. So that when he returned, he was so much more open to have that conversation. And in that conversation, as I shared my experience, I felt this huge shift in my energy. I cried, I released emotion, I felt a deep healing taking place of being able to express what I felt and really be heard in that. And he didn't try to fix it. He didn't try to go like, oh, well, this is why, or like it kind of explain himself or make excuses or anything. He just held me in that and he really met me, and that was really, really healing. And following that, I just had this huge energetic expansion. Like I almost felt like I was in a psychedelic experience. there was a huge shift that took place for me, and I really felt like that allowed me to open up to receiving support in this recent birth. So you may find that as you start to do that deep inner work for yourself around this feeling supported, and as the more that you're able to express yourself from your heart, you're going to have these spontaneous healings, deep healing taking place for you and within your relationships. So for me, like I said, over the past few years, I did the work, I did the inner work, I did what I needed to heal the story and the wound around not being supported. And I also found healing my sexuality over the past few years has been a huge part as well, because the wounds around my sexuality really kept me stuck and closed off and shut down. And so as I've worked through these different layers of my being, it's really allowed me to soften and receive that depth of support. Another area that has really allowed me to shift this is that Liam and I have been working with a couples coach. And this has been really powerful because it's been allowed us to have that external support of someone that is not biased, someone that's not on my side, they're not on Liam's side, they're there to hold the space for us to both be heard and held through the journey of healing core wounds, of being heard, of really being able to understand each other and where we're coming from. Because when we get into triggers, projection, arguments, conflict, a lot of the time we're just scratching the surface. We're not really acknowledging what's deeper beneath what's actually going on. And that's what we explore in my one-on-one coaching, my couples coaching, my programs, is what's beneath the surface, what's at the root of this. And so that's what Liam and I have been supporting with our coach, is where is this feeling of unsupported not coming from? And that was for me. And then Liam had his own wounds that we were exploring, but one of mine was like, I am not supported. And it was really profound. As we went deeper, the core need was not actually to be supported. The core need for me was compassion. I needed to feel compassion for Liam. And that was really bizarre. It was not what I was expecting. And that's the thing. Often we are so fixated on what's on the surface of, I need to be supported, or I'm not supported, or you're doing this, or he's triggering me in this way, or whatever the thing might be. Like, we're so fixated on what's happening in the present, on what's on the surface, that we're completely missing what's beneath. So I invite you to get curious about that now. What is the main challenge you're experiencing, or the desire that you have that maybe you're struggling to cultivate, or maybe there's a trigger or an argument that you just keep having over and over and over again, and you're like, why can't we move through this? What is currently present for you? And then getting curious, ask yourself the question, what is beneath this? What is beneath this? And just keep asking that question and getting curious about what comes up for you when you ask that question. This would be a really good journaling activity to write down what's present for you, what's the current challenge, trigger, emotion, or thing that you're navigating. Write down the question, like physically write it down, what is beneath this? And then write down whatever comes through. Even if it doesn't make any sense, just write it down and then ask the question again, what is beneath this? Write down the answer and do it maybe 3 to 5 times and just see where that takes you. And if you do desire to have more support with this, because obviously this can be quite a confronting process to really go into those deeper layers, I encourage you to get that support. Feel free to reach out. We can explore some different options for you getting that support that you need, so that you can really get to the root cause, the root of this challenge that you're experiencing. And that by going through that process, then you can really start to experience the deep level of support that you desire, first and foremost within yourself, and then from others. That's where we can really create that safety to experience or receive support from others, is by first cultivating it within yourself. Because then you're no longer relying on that external person to be your support. Like, if I allow this person to support me and then they can't do that, or they abandon me, or they're not able to meet me there, I'm going to be so vulnerable, and that feels so scary. But if we create that deep foundation of support inside of you, then it's like, okay, if my partner can't support me in this particular situation, that's okay. I can do this for myself, or I can reach out to another support in my life, maybe a coach or a friend or someone else. But you're going to know that it's like, I'm okay. I've got me. And so in my upcoming program, Deeply Connected Couples, I've designed it in a way where you can do it by yourself, or you can do it with your partner, or you could do it with yourself first and then do it with your partner later, because really it's all about building those foundations, and you're going to receive so much for yourself and so much that you can implement in your relationship, whether you do it with together or not. But the first step is really to get this clarity, to get curious, to start to explore what's beneath not feeling supported. And then how can I cultivate that support within myself? And then how can I start to ask for that support from my partner, leading from my heart? And so these are all areas that I support my clients and my students with. So if you do feel like you want deeper support in this area, feel free to reach out. I'm sending you so much love. I would love to hear what you've received from this episode, from this conversation. Feel free to comment below, to DM me on Facebook or Instagram, or send me an email. I'd love to hear from you.
Introducing a brand new program starting June 1st. Deeply Connected Couples is for you if you desire to deepen your connection to yourself and your partner. We'll be exploring deep, potent, and incredibly important topics that will support you to thrive in your relationships. Topics like exploring family dynamics, attraction, belief systems, deeply ingrained patterns, attachment styles, dissolving resentment, cultivating inner harmony, practicing appreciation, and really deepening your connection, your intimacy with yourself and with your partner, as well as exploring how to express yourself, your needs, your desires, your boundaries. This is going to be an incredible program. It's designed for you to be able to do it alone or with your partner, or both. You're going to get lifetime access to all the replays, so you could always do it by yourself and then do it with your partner later. There's going to be Q&A sessions so that you can get personalized support. There is so much in this program. It's absolutely incredible. And we're also going to be doing some embodiment journeys so that you can really implement what you're learning and receiving from the modules in the program. There is an incredible offer that is ending 17th of May, and you can join this program for only $111. I have made it this price because I want to make it more accessible to more people to get this support. I think it is so needed, so essential to do this work and to receive these transmissions. So when you join by Friday 17th of May, you'll get this program at $111. There's some incredible bonuses and practices that I'm going to be including that you're going to have lifetime access to. From the 18th of May, this program is going to be $444. So jump in now. Check out the link below to get all the details. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out on social media, Facebook, Instagram, or send me an email. All right, sending you so much love. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for listening to the Good Girl Unleashed podcast. If you are loving this content, go ahead and subscribe to be notified of upcoming episodes. Please leave a 5-star review to help me get these powerful teachings and practices to those who need it. If you would like to submit a question or would like to know more about how we can work together, send me an email to info@moniquecarmela.com. So much love to you, beautiful human. Until next time.